When building an MVP, it's easy to focus entirely on product design, customer feedback, and growth. But even at the earliest stages, legal, compliance, and privacy considerations can make or break your startup. Ignoring these areas can lead to major risks, ranging from data breaches and regulatory fines to losing user trust. The good news is that you don't need a full legal team to get started. You just need awareness, good documentation, and a few smart practices to stay compliant and protected as you grow. Let's start with why legal and compliance matter. Your MVP might be a test product, but it still interacts with real users, data, and potentially payments. The moment you collect information, process transactions, or communicate with users, you have legal responsibilities. Taking care of these early shows professionalism, builds credibility, and protects your business from future headaches. The first area to focus on is business structure and ownership. Decide how your startup will be legally formed, whether as a sole proprietorship, partnership, LLC, or corporation. Incorporating early protects your personal assets and makes it easier to handle intellectual property and contracts. You can start simple and upgrade later as your company grows, but having the right structure helps you separate personal and business liabilities. Next, let's talk about intellectual property, IP, one of your most valuable assets. If you're building unique technology, branding, or content, you'll want to protect it. Register trademarks for your brand name and logo, and secure domain names and social handles as early as possible. If you have code, algorithms, or proprietary methods, ensure ownership is clearly assigned to the company, not just individual founders or freelancers. Use contracts like IP assignment agreements to make this airtight. Another key area is user agreements and policies. Even for an MVP, you should have clear terms of service and a privacy policy. Your terms of service outline what users can expect from your product, what's allowed and what's not. It sets boundaries that protect you from misuse or unreasonable liability. Your privacy policy explains what data you collect, how you use it, and how you protect it. Many jurisdictions like the EU under GDPR or California under CCPA require this by law, even if your product is in beta. Speaking of data protection, privacy compliance is a big deal. Collect only the data you absolutely need, store it securely, and be transparent about your practices. Use encryption for sensitive information and avoid sharing user data with third parties unless necessary. If your MVP uses third-party services like analytics tools, payment gateways, or cloud storage, make sure they're compliant too. Data breaches can destroy user trust long before your product scales. It's also wise to think about consent and user rights. Under regulations like GDPR, users have the right to access, modify, or delete their data. Make it simple for them to do so, even if you're just testing. This not only keeps you compliant, but also shows respect for user privacy, a major differentiator in today's market. Now let's touch on contracts and partnerships. If you're working with freelancers, contractors, or early employees, use written agreements. Verbal promises can lead to confusion later. Contracts should cover deliverables, timelines, payment terms, and ownership of work produced. If you're co-founding with others, create a founder's agreement to define roles, responsibilities, and equity splits. It may feel premature, but clarity now prevents conflict later. For products involving payments or sensitive industries like healthcare or finance, regulatory compliance becomes even more critical. For example, fintech MVPs must comply with financial regulations, while health apps handling patient data must follow HIPAA or similar standards. You don't need to master all the laws yourself, but you do need to know which apply to your domain. Consulting with a startup-friendly lawyer or compliance expert early can save costly mistakes. Another overlooked area is international compliance. Even if you're a small startup, your MVP might reach users in other countries. Be aware of differences in privacy laws, consumer protection standards, and tax requirements. Using tools or platforms that already comply with global standards like GDPR or SOC 2 can simplify your setup. Security is another pillar of legal compliance. Implement basic cybersecurity measures, strong passwords, role-based access, SSL certificates, and regular backups. If you collect or store user data, perform periodic audits to ensure it's protected. Even small breaches can lead to legal issues and erode hard-earned trust. Lastly, think about risk mitigation. No matter how careful you are, mistakes happen. That's why it's worth exploring insurance options like general liability or errors and omissions E&O coverage. These can protect you against claims related to negligence or product failures. As you grow, having coverage in place can make you more credible to partners and investors. In summary, legal, compliance, and privacy considerations aren't just formalities. They're the foundation of a sustainable business. Set up your company structure, protect your intellectual property, be transparent about user data, and operate ethically. You don't need to overcomplicate things. Start lean, document everything, and evolve as your MVP grows. Because in the long run, trust is your most valuable currency. By prioritizing compliance and privacy early, you're not just avoiding risk, you're building confidence with users, partners, and investors that your startup is here to stay.